We're back out here at the Big Lake once again, and today we're talking about 4 ways of rigging your soft plastic baits that I'm sure you've never tried to do before. Stick around, you don't want to miss this one.
There, I got him. Ooh, that one's nice. Ooh, oh yeah, he's good. Come here.
And here is this video's featured comment. Congratulations! If you would like to have a chance to have your comment featured in an upcoming video, all you've got to do is leave a comment. And now, on with the video. Now be sure to watch this video 100% of the way through, because somewhere in this video is a giveaway offer for some custom jigs that I made myself, including some of my own handmade jigs. And this is brought to you by the folks over at Easy Casting, where I get my jig skirt tabs. So stay tuned for that. Welcome back to Lowbrow Fishing, and if you got to see the last video, I'll link to it in the description below. We talked about ways to generate bites when those conditions were exceptionally tough. Whether the water was low, whether the water was hot, whether the pressure was on, whether the conditions were just all wrong, whatever. We as anglers can always find ways to create bites. Sometimes we just have to think a little bit outside the box. And I started to think about that a little bit. A lot of the ways that we fish whenever conditions get tough is finesse, right? I grab a wacky worm or a weightless Texas rig or something like that. Some guys, they'll go to a Ned rig, or something along those lines. A finesse presentation of some sort, a drop shot. And these are very effective ways to generate bites when those conditions are tough. But I started to think about the ways that I rig soft plastics, and they tend to be a little bit out of the box, and they tend to be ways that most people, they generally don't do that. So we're going to talk about 4 different ways that I rig soft plastics that I regularly use to catch fish, whether it's good conditions, whether it's tough conditions. It works all year round for soft plastics, not just as trailers, but as main baits as well. And some of these I'm pretty sure are going to shock you. And we're going to start with, our good friend Matt Steffen's Core Tackle hover rig, right? By now, you guys know I was one of the first guys to get my hands on one of these. I got them when they first came out, and they're amazing. These things just catch fish. We've got a lot of imitators out there, but there's only one Core Tackle hover rig, and it just works. And you guys know I like to put a fluke on them. I like to rig them sideways like this. But this is not the tip that I'm talking about, because we've already seen this. I do this all the time. What I also like to do is I'll rig a creature bait on one of these. This is a Pit Boss, a Berkley Pit Boss, and this is also on a hover rig. This is on the larger one. I think this is a 3/16 hook. And what I use these for is I'll actually flip these. I will do light flipping with these in between the gaps in that hydrilla on the northern part of the lake, the part of the lake that's very shallow and it's got all that vegetation. This is a great tool whenever I'm targeting those empty spots where the hydrilla isn't, just hitting those empty pockets with it. And I don't want to use something like a wacky worm or a NACO rig. I want to use something that's got a little bit bulkier presentation, but I don't want to go all the way north and break out the flipping stick and just get right in there. This is a place, along the sides of either bank where the hydrilla comes out a little bit and there's gaps in between it. And it's a great place. You can put a wacky worm in there and you can put a NACO worm in there and you can generate bites, and you can use, a hover rig with a fluke on there like that, and you can generate bites. But this right here, this is like a light flipping setup, and it works great. It's something that I use in place of a jig, in place of a Texas rig, and when I don't need to go as heavy as a punching rig. So you just rig it on the same way you would normally rig on a hover rig, right? Nothing fancy, nothing special. Like I said, this is the bigger sized hover rig. It works well for that size bait. It's a great way to generate strikes, and it's out of the ordinary. It's something that I don't see anybody doing. A lot of guys, when they use the hover rig, they're using them for, I guess, deeper water, And that's one of the things that I prefer to do whenever I'm using it as a flipping and pitching tool there in shallow water. Now, sticking with the hover rig, you know, there's another way that I like to rig it that I've not really seen anybody do. And it's actually the first way I started doing it and what I really started having success on, and that is a soft plastic stick bait. Just a regular Senko style bait. This is what I first started using. It was what came to mind. You know, I was going to use the hover rig to flip and pitch under flooded brush. I'm not using the hover rig as a drop shot or like a jerk bait or anything like that out deep. I don't fish them like that usually because I don't have electronics, right? And to me, whenever you're going to fish a hover rig like out deep, you're going to have something like forward-facing sonar or at least, you know, 3D imaging or side scan or something like that to help you locate those fish. Me, when I'm fishing out deep, I'm just chucking and winding, trying to cover water. You know, this is not going to do me much good out there. But up close, near the bank, where I'm pitching under flooded brush, this is great. Well, it skips as good as a wacky rig, and that's key for me. Plus, it's got a good fall rate, and like a NACO rig, and a lot of times I can keep that hook a lot cleaner than I can with a wacky rig. Now, that brush guard really doesn't do a whole lot, but the way that worm twitches, it kind of twitches up like that, so the hook kind of stays away from the garbage. So, you know, I haven't lost too many of these. I've got them hung every once in a while, but usually I'm getting them hung on wood and not really gummed up with hydrilla. So that's one of the reasons why I use the stick bait a lot. Like I said, it was the first thing that I started using, and I still use it quite often. Now, going back to the fluke or the soft plastic jerkbait, right? You know, it's great on a hover rig. It's great weightless, but there's also another way that we can fish these that I don't see anglers doing, and that is on a wacky rig. That's right, you can wacky rig these, but I do it just a little bit differently. This is your regular Zoom Super Fluke, and I've got a bigger O'Shaughnessy hook here. I'm not using the normal wacky rig hook, you know, the Gamakatsu G Finesse. I use a bigger hook, and I take it and I back hook it like this and have it come out, and boom, and that's how I'm using it. And when it falls, it kind of has a little bit of a nosedive with a little bit of a twirl and swirl to it. So you can pop it up, and then it just kind of flutters down, has a nice little fall to it. And you know, this can be as effective as a wacky worm. Plus, it's a different look. It's not something that I'm seeing other anglers do. It's very much its own thing. It has its own action underwater. And you can definitely, you know, you can put a nail weight on there and get a little bit harder fall out of it if you want to. But just as it is, it works tremendously well. It skips tremendously well. Give this a try, especially whenever you're trying to get those tough fish out from under docks, out from under flooded brush. You'll find that this thing just works immensely well. And now for that special offer that I promised. See, the folks over at Easy Casting, they've set up a special promo just for the viewers of this channel. It'll be linked down in the description below. But if you spend $45 or more and enter the code LOWBROW15, you will save 15% of all your materials, all your skirt tabs over at Easy Casting. It's a great deal, especially since I'm using Easy Casting now and have been for a while. I love their skirt tabs. I've been going crazy making my own custom skirts. It's just so easy to do. It's one of those things, once you start, it's really hard to stop. And because of that, well, I'm going to be giving away some of the custom jigs that I've created. I have some Strike King jigs with some custom skirts, football jigs, swim jigs that I'll be giving away, as well as some of my own homemade, handmade jigs that I'm going to be throwing in, as well as some odds and ends to go along with it. Now to enter, all you have to do is enter the hashtag custom jigs, all one word, in the comments below. I will go through those comments and we will pick a winner 1 week from when this video drops. So if this video goes out on a Wednesday, next Wednesday on that video, we'll pick the winner. So remember, hashtag custom jigs, one word in the comment section below, and you are automatically entered to win that prize. Again, thanks to Easy Casting for making this possible. Follow the link in the description below, and good luck to everyone. But we are going to see if we can, there we go, I got one. On the wacky tube. Come on, stay with me, buddy.
Stay with me. That's not a bad one either. That is not a bad fish, and he swallowed it. Look at that. He went after it. He choked that dude all the way. That didn't take long at all. Thank you, dude. Bye.
And lastly, well, this is one thing you have seen me do on this channel before, and that is a tube, but we're going to wacky rig it. And we do it in such a way, it's a really unique presentation, and I've gotten a lot of bites with it. It's just a great way to rig up a tube I've never seen anybody else doing. Obviously, you know, we could take an O'Shaughnessy hook and we could just loop it through and have a wacky rig. But we really want to preserve that glide that that tube has. And we don't want the bulk of a tube jig, because a lot of times a tube jig can be too much. It can be too heavy. So what are we going to do? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take, I've got a little 1/16 ounce bullet weight here for a smaller tube. A larger tube, you can go up to a 1/8. I've used that as well. And we're just going to push that 1/16 ounce weight up into the tube all the way until we can get it all the way, work with it until we get it all the way to the front. Now, once we get that weight all the way to the front, nice and secure, that's where we're going to take our larger O'Shaughnessy hook and we're going to hook it through like so, right? Now, this is going to keep that weight up here, and you're still going to get quite a bit of spiral, quite a bit of twirl on the fall and some glide. But again, it's not going to be as aggressive as it would be with a tube head. It's going to be slower, it's going to be more gentle, and it's going to get those finicky bass when they're not really biting anything else. I've used this on some of the toughest days, and it's just worked so well for me. I suggest you give this a try. I'm telling you, you will be blown away by how effective this presentation can be. So there you have it. 4 ways to rig soft plastic baits that I'm sure you've never tried before. And they work so well under so many conditions and circumstances. Give them a try. I'm sure they'll be highly productive for you. Thanks for watching Lowbrow Fishing. We'll catch you in the next one.